Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Well, the final countdown this week is definitely on. 3 days left until the Cybertruck. I thought we would take a look back memory lane of the very first time the Cybertruck was here at Giga Texas. And the person that found it was Randy. He was one of the Quad Squad members at the time. And he was able to get the very first images of the Cybertruck here at Giga Texas. So here he is in his own words about what that experience was like.
Well, talk a little bit also, I don't know if people know what the environment that you're flying the drone with out here is. It's hot, there's bugs, it could be windy, easy to capture something, but you didn't even see it, and then the viewers come back later. So talk about that.
Yeah, I mean that's a common theme out here. There's so many materials out here, construction materials. The color silver, gray. I'd say maybe a little black too, but silver and gray is just everywhere. Everything out here is silver or grayish shade or tint. And so some of the most prized shots that we want are things that also match those color schemes at the time before they're painted. It's very easy to miss something of high value that, you know, we're searching for, such as like a Cybertruck.
Oh, did you? Yeah, talk about that. You actually captured the first images of a Cybertruck, or at least you did, but you didn't realize you did.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and it's I mentioned, man, it's one of my biggest regrets of just missing something here. You know, the first coveted shot of the actual Cybertruck on site. And it was they were actually filming a spot for Tesla for I believe it was in their stores. For it, and the entire east side of the factory had not been covered with the panels of the concrete.
Yeah, so the Cybertruck was inside the factory.
It was inside the factory, front and center, side profile view, everything. It was not moving, so I mean, I literally could have lowered the drone right here and just looked at it the entire time, and me going on my normal flight path, you know, I'm going through and I come over here slightly to the left of it, and I come up and you can see it right there to the right. It's just there, just saying, hey, picture me, film me, come spend some time with me. And I completely miss it because everything on that side is gray, and you know, there's some shadows there at the time when those panels weren't there. Everything inside of the building had that shadow, you know, because, you know, sun setting, it was just kind of hard to see, and so I didn't notice it until our viewers noticed it in the video, and then it's just like, you know, one of these moments.
Well, thanks, Randy, and I hope you appreciate that trip down memory lane of the very first time Cybertruck was here at Giga Texas. So let's get in the drone, let's fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like today, just 3 days before the Cybertruck delivery event. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning, and we'll be starting off here on the east side of the battery cathode plant on this brisk but beautiful morning to fly. Now, you'll see the water detention pond. In the middle of that pond, you'll see some water and a lot of mud. This is where the Cybertruck was, let's say, liberally testing itself and got all muddy that we saw in my previous video, and we'll see it again today. We also see more of that steel corrugated pipe as part of the drainage system for that water detention pond under construction as well. As we continue to work our way towards the north of this water detention pond, we can see that concrete outfall channel coming out of that pipe. And they have those concrete dividers built in, and that helps to break up the water flow when it comes into the water detention pond. Next to the cell test lab, we see that area still having some grade work between the test lab and those trailers. And we also see work in and amongst the east side with all of the equipment and the trailers. Now, speaking of which, I wanted to pull away to the farther northeast here to show you not only all of the dirt that's being piled up here, also it looks like some concrete sections are being broken up in this circular section right at the bottom of the screen. And we also see some new equipment that has been delivered here. And I'll bring the drone down and give you a zoom in so you can take a look at what these are. Now, these look like they are open-ended on both sides. They have some flanges for piping. And actually one end has a cap on the item on the right, and you can get a good sense of what these look like. I'm not actually sure what these are, but it'll be something that I will continue to watch to see where they are installed. Very similar to those stainless steel tanks on the left, waiting to see where those are installed as well. Now, as we approach the north end of the battery cathode plant, we can see that the work on the lift station continues. Those are those concrete vaults at the bottom of the screen. We also see more of the blue pipes, some of the black steel pipes, and some of the large steel corrugated pipes arranged here, but a lot less because the construction has definitely been going on very quickly. Now, something extremely heavy was just delivered here somewhere within the battery cathode or the die shop with that truck that you can see, and that's an extremely heavy lift trailer. I didn't see what it was, but I'll continue to watch and maybe I'll get some more clues. The chiller plant shows a lot of activity continuing on the bottom floor and some of the work on the top floor as well. Also, the conduit that goes under the road here is still under construction. They're extending it right across where that road will be between the two structures. And this is a really good look at the nitrogen tanks on the right, the vaporizers, and the stainless steel tanks that have been installed with that concrete wall around them at the base. Good look at the manifolds that are under construction here as well. And on the right side where you see all the workers, they're finishing up some of the manifold connections after they've made reinforced mounts for those 4 white tanks and was recently replaced back onto those mounts, and it looks like they are preparing the final installation. More of the concrete work here between the two structures. Right in the middle between the two concrete aprons is where that water steel corrugated pipe is under the ground. I noticed that there's another new clearing right next to where we have the employee overflow lot, and this is what it looks like today, and maybe they'll be continuing to expand that further to the east. Between these trees and the median, we see that the old original guard shack was removed, and now they have a temporary one instead. Speaking of this road, the new 4-way intersection of Tesla Road has now had the paint markings put on, and this is a really good look at how it appears today. They'll be extending this road further to the east where that guard shack has been removed that I pointed out. Looks like there's some excavation work around this corner and the south side of Tesla Road next to the parking lot. And then as we turn back towards the north over the temporary offices here that Tesla uses, it looks like some of the trailers have actually been removed. And maybe that's a sign that this phase of having trailers for temporary offices may be coming to an end. As we approach the electrical switch yard, the temporary switch yard on the left is no longer functional. This switch yard has both of these two transformers now operational. All the wiring is completed, and you can tell that the breakers on the right-hand side of the screen, all 6 of them are connected right now. So this is providing the power that is making Giga Texas operate, which is another great milestone. As we fly up over the power lines, this gives you a good look at some of the road work next to the Megapack going on and underneath the power lines. We also see how the Megapack site looks. They're still doing some work on this north structure where those 3 large conduits come out of the ground and then those 3 cables connect. But hopefully they'll have that done pretty soon. You can see some of the workers right now, because once all this is done, then maybe we'll see the commissioning of the Megapack system. Speaking of which, the Megapack system itself, the perimeter fence, the gravel, all of the lighting, all of this appears to be completed on this side of the site. And as we go over the contractor yard, we can see there's a lot less materials being stockpiled here today. So I'm going to cross over Tesla Road, and we're going to see some new developments next to the 4680 battery cell production portion of the factory. And as we come in, we can tell that they're continuing to do work inside. There's a lot less steel waiting for installation on the right-hand side of the screen. And we also see some interesting deliveries being made right here on this accordion truck. And then also we have that STI truck with a lot more crates getting ready to be moved out. And I'll zoom in so you get a good sense of some of the equipment that is being delivered here. We also see some very large pipes on the left-hand side. And also it looks like, I don't know, some sort of trench boxes or framed steel structures around the truck as well. They also just brought a large item from the 4th floor down to the ground. As we continue to maneuver on the north side of the building, heading towards the casting machine structure, we can see some of the paint systems used for bumpers on the Model Ys. And then here we see more of the work with the electrical conduit just going underneath the screen. Some of the rack mounts for the castings have been moved away, and also more of that conduit going along the left side with that widened berm. Here's a good view of the materials here as well, and many of the Cybertruck castings can be seen throughout this video as well. And we also see more of the rack mounts and what looks like a rack mount wall being put up between the conduit and all of the castings. On the roof here we can see in sort of the middle left where one of those flues for the furnace has been installed. And then this is a good shot of these ducted fans and enclosures. This is part of a increased capability for ventilation throughout the casting machine structure, and that serves 2 purposes. One for the furnace, but also for the Giga presses to make sure that any of the oil spray that may get into the atmosphere is ventilated out. And that oil spray is used to help make sure that the castings can come smoothly and cleanly out of the Giga presses. Here's a zoom in showing you more of the preparation work for white stain on the walls. Again, more looks at the castings all along this particular side. Some of the ones that are in the rack mounts are Model Ys, and of course the Cybertrucks are on the ground and in some of the racks as well. This is a good view of where all of the electrical wiring is being finalized, and that's what connects up to the electrical switch yard and powers the factory. This section here, the apron is almost ready for have the concrete replaced. The receiving doors and the load levelers are all installed, and of course the enclosures here on this set of receiving doors are all in, and we see the trailers being brought up here for more materials, and of course more of the work next to that secondary glass entrance. Now as I pull away over the east parking lot, I want to show you one of the interesting things today, and that is one of the Cybertrucks that has that large Cybertruck graffiti on it. And this is one of the 2 vehicles, I'm pretty sure, that were filmed down in Baja, California, and they were doing a lot of that off-road testing. And as I zoom in, you get a good view of how this looks. On the roof, it looks like that's the mount for the Starlink that they had used for that Baja, California run. And that very distinctive Cybertruck wrap logo on the sides as well. So we'll go ahead and do a 360 around and give you a good view of this particular Cybertruck, which is kind of unique and has that very interesting logo. So I hope you enjoyed that view all the way around this particular release candidate Cybertruck with the Cybertruck logo on it, and one of the more storied Cybertrucks so far with its trip through Baja, California. As I pull away, this gives you a good view of the entire outbound lot. You can see it's reasonably empty. The production for Model Ys has resumed this morning. I saw a lot of that activity on the west side, so they will be filling this lot up quickly, and then of course the trucks picking them up to move them off site. It's also a good view of some of the large deliveries that are being made here today on that road. In this section, this gives you a good idea of the construction that is going on to prepare this road that will run from the right to the left of the screen. We also see these trailers with a lot of concrete items. All of this is for the multi-level parking garage. And I'll bring the drone down lower so you can get a good view of this. Now, interestingly enough, the last time we really saw any concrete columns or sections like this was for the casting machine structure. Also, the southeast corner stamping machine structure used very similar concrete beams and the columns. We can also see some staircases here too. And those are the only other sections of Giga Texas that use that concrete internal construction technique. As we get to the testing and calibration lot, we see many of the Cybertrucks arranged around the helicopter pad. Also that very muddy one that we talked about earlier in the video, and I showed you where they were doing that mud testing on the site. But a pretty good view of all of these Cybertrucks and how this looks on this section today. And later on, I noticed there was yet another Cybertruck arriving, and we're going to see that here shortly. And then we'll do a little bit of a chase of the Cybertruck around this site. So you can see it on the left right now, and it's going to be driving around. Now, if you'll notice, it's got a kind of a green or large sticker on the fender. And that's because this is actually one of the Cybertrucks that are being used now for the security vehicles. And here's a good zoom in so you get a look at how this appears. And there's at least 7 of these Cybertrucks that are being used as the security vehicles now, which is pretty cool. And later in the video, we'll see where they park them over by the west main entrance. But let's follow this Cybertruck around the roundabout and along the east side of the factory and just get a good view of yet another Cybertruck driving. It was moving quite quickly, even though this is sped up video, but it took a lot of effort for the drone to keep up with it. It was moving that quickly. And of course, it continues south along this road, and we'll follow it for a short period of time. I'm going to have to zoom back out, and then we'll have to stop following it because there's a crane immediately to my left. Well, after following that Cybertruck, it puts us in a great position to take a look at the construction site for the multi-level parking garage. This gives you a good view on the west side of the site of how it is continuing to develop. You see a lot of concrete work has been completed. A lot more is underway. Also, the structure itself, which counting the ground floor has 4 levels, continues to grow. And this is a good zoom in to give you an idea of the work that is being done to prepare for it to grow further to the north. But as I continue to maneuver around this structure, you can get a good view of how it looks right now. As I mentioned, it's using those concrete columns, and these are very similar to what we saw in the stamping and the casting machine sections of Giga Texas. I also get a good view of kind of how that side treatment will look with those 6 small inset windows. And you can see there's an extension off to the left as well. Continuing to show you this site so you can get a good sense of the amount of footings and other concrete work that is underway in this middle section. And then on the far east section, we can see where the roadway is being prepared and also some of the underground steel corrugated pipe manifold sections that have been put into place. And that work continues. As I mentioned, yes, on the left-hand side of the multi-level parking garage site, you can see that further extension of the structure heading towards the building. Here's a good zoom in of the east side of the south part of the body in white and also the stamping machine structure to give you an idea of just the activity, some of the equipment and other materials that are being stockpiled on this side, and also a good view of the extension work for the main building that is underway. You can see the footings next to the wall on the angled corner and how it emanates out from there. We can also see how the new steel structure has that angled corner that mimics the current one that has the wall panels on it. And also we can see how the perimeter grade beam that will form the base of the walls is being constructed here next to the steel structure and along the south end, and also a lot of the steel items that have been moved from the sort of the northwest staging area by Tesla Road down to here for the installation. Now, as I continue to maneuver the drone around, you'll get a good view of how this extension is looking and how it is continuing to have footings being progressing towards the west along the south side. Of course, all of the steel as well. And this just gives you an idea of how quickly they are expecting this steel structure to go up with all of it being pre-positioned. Now I'm going to bring the drone around here, come down over the power lines and give you a closer view of the footing work that is going on here in this corner. And it also gives you a good sense of how the building is going to extend and then have the same basic shape as it does now, but about 120 meters farther to the south. As I maneuver the drone around to give you multi different views of the steel structure, a couple of the interesting things that I noticed is the concrete has already been poured on one of the upper sections, which is interesting in and of itself. We see how the perimeter grade beam has had some of the concrete poured. There's still some form work, but they're going ahead and adding more steel columns and beams to grow this structure. And this is a good low altitude view to see the rebar work at that perimeter grade beam and also some of the concrete work and just generally how this structure is taking shape. Now, something that I would like to point out to you, if you look at the concrete column bases in the middle, you can see like U93, there's U92, there's T93, and all of these are marked. Those are the grid coordinates that go throughout the entire factory. It used to end at grid 84. Now, as we've seen with the permit and what we're seeing here with the markings, is it's extending the building grid 85 through 93. And this is a good view here of the perimeter grade beam. But what that indicates is that this will be eventually one contiguous building under a common roof, even though there's going to be those concrete panels as a firewall in between the two sections of the building. So that's just good visual proof that the permit and what we've talked about over the last 11 months is accurate as to how they are continuing to build out the extension of the building. On the left-hand side, we can see the crane that was used for the continuous flight auger system is being dismantled and will be moved off-site soon. See more work painting the temporary or the fill-in panels where the concrete panels and the windows were removed. And then on this southwest corner, this is a good view of the 2 loading platforms and some of the activity that is going on here right now. Now I'm going to fly up the west side, heading towards the north of the building, give you a sense of the activity here. But one of the things that I really want to show you is all 7 of the Cybertrucks that are parked here. There's 2 in this closer parking location, as you can see, and then there's 5 in this area that are designated as the security vehicles for Tesla. So they're going to have, from what I can tell right now, at least 7 of these used for security vehicles. And I think that's a great use of these cars, or these trucks, and I think that these are all release candidates, so it's a great way to use these as well and continue to get data on the early Cybertrucks. As we fly over the west main entrance, we're going to see these Model Ys leaving. This is the temporary end-of-line facility. This is where the Model Ys, at least for right now, exit the building for the very first time, and then are moved over to the testing and calibration lot for preparation for shipping. This is a good view of where the electrical conduit is going into, where the HDPE pipe for the horizontal drilling was underway, and how this is going to reach underneath the highway over to the new end-of-line facility and have the power there. So let's get ready and fly over the highway and take a look at how the west side looks today. And this is a good view of the work that's on the north side of the end-of-line facility. We can also see in this pit by the power lines where steel corrugated pipe have been routed at least to this point. And also we can see quite a bit of activity on either side of the end-of-line facility itself. So starting on the east side, we can take a look at the workers that are preparing not only electrical conduit on the left, but also some concrete piping for the underground water system and blue piping for some of the water. And also a good view of how the north end of the end-of-line facility looks. And then here we see temporary power poles have been added, those lighter gray ones. I think this is for temporary power until the power from the main factory is established. You can also see the underground conduit work going on here, those 3 diagonally shaped conduit. This is also a good view of more of the trench work and just other work on this side of the building. It looks like they're doing some final work on the exterior walls on this west side. The outbound lot itself is looking more and more finished. Most of the trench work throughout that flat area has been completed. And this is also a good view of some of the road work and medians and some of the curbs that have been installed as well. I'll bring the drone in closer so you can get a good view of the trench work for what I think is going to be lighting systems here for the outbound lot. And most of it has been filled in, but you can see these last 5 with a central conduit down the middle waiting for its completion. As I maneuver around to the south end of the building, we can see more of the materials being staged on the right. 2 of those concrete vaults for the conduit here at the dead center south side of the building. And of course, how the building itself looks on this end. And it's nice that they have that kind of a small awning over those doors to help protect from rain as they move in and out of the building. More work on the conduit is evident on the right, and of course all of the materials being staged here as I had mentioned. Now I'm going to turn the drone back towards the west just to give you a good overall view of how this side looks today. The west warehouse on wheels on the left is still very busy. More of the concrete vaults on the right waiting for installation, and then here more trench work with some of the concrete pipes and vaults. Again, this is going to be, some of it's part of the water management system that's being installed here. This large material staging yard continues to be very busy. We see more of the TKS paint system items and these large white wrapped items on the left, and that's part of another modular paint system that's being installed in Giga Texas. And more of the windows at the bottom of the screen that were removed from the south end being stored and waiting for future reinstallation once the building extension is completed. Speaking of which, we see more preparation for maybe a new construction project here on this far southwest side. We've seen where the dirt here is coming from. It's coming from a little bit farther to the north on some property that Tesla owns, and they're removing some of the hills that used to be part of the sand and gravel mine, and they're bringing all that here to flatten this section out and removing all of the hills and ponds that used to be here as well. So another section to be monitoring to see what they eventually do. This large parking lot is for contractor parking, the contractors that are doing the construction on Giga Texas predominantly. That large material staging yard that we visited on the upper left, and a great view over the west warehouse on wheels to the main factory and the battery cathode and die shop sections way in the distance. Much of the site that we saw today. So that's it for today. I hope you have a great week, and thank you very much for your support. I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you as I can at the Cybertruck delivery event coming up here on Thursday. Take care.